to everybody for participating in this evening. I have been asked to run on a marathon this evening, but given the time allocated for the 100 meters, I think I am supposed to talk about the war which I fought for 2 years and 9 months, but I am supposed to talk about it in about 20 minutes. I hope I can do at least to the best of my ability to keep up to expectations. Then I am also supposed to talk about the situation in the country, focusing on the economy, and again the time restrictions are there. But in case I go beyond the limit a little bit, please bear with me. I have to make a special mention about the representation from the embassies, the final battle, Ilango 4. I'll be talking about situation in the country afterwards. First, to talk about the terrorism, focusing on Ilango 4. First, I will take your mind back to the period, the 2005 December. That was the period which I took for the command of the army. You all may be able to remember still, some of you would have been much younger also at that time. When I took over the command of the army, civilians lived in this country in fear. Civilians were terrorized. Civilians never thought that terrorism can be eliminated in this country. I can remember the people, the father used to travel in one vehicle, the mother used to travel in some other vehicle, because they thought at least one has to survive to look after, take care of the children. That was the situation in the country. They're talking about the military. The military was losing battles regularly. Got terrorists at the initiative, they were calling shots. Even very eminent generals in the country, named a few of them, General Sarath Fonseka, General Sarath, General Janaka Pereira, they were publicly saying this war cannot be won by military. There should be a political solution for the pending problem at that time. The morale of the troops was very low at that time. I think the troops, after going through a series of failures, they preferred the ceasefire at that time. And when Mavillaru was closed, many of the generals in the army, including the person I was in Singapore hospital, even the general who was acting for me, they refused to go to war. They thought we must go back to ceasefire again. That was the situation. I grew up in the war. I was aware of the various mistakes, drawbacks we had, the mistakes done by the political leaders, and the mistakes committed by various military leaders at different levels. I was very familiar with those. And I knew about the capabilities of the terrorists also. I knew the terrorists were very smart. Their main strategy was to hit and run. They were doing it with a lot of success. Then the terrorists had the intelligence organization, which was very smart and way ahead of the government intelligence organization. The intelligence organization was led by Pottuamma. They were very successful in their activities. Then terrorists had the ability to muster large numbers, to attack, launch large-scale attacks. They were doing it very smartly. Even they were capable of overrunning the brigade camps, the divisional camps. They were doing all that very successfully. After a mental appreciation, after I took over the command, I fathomed the terrorist strength as something like 35,000. But of course, at that time, the intelligence report said only about 9,000 terrorists were there in the country. But my appreciation accounted for about 35,000. There was a defense correspondent writing to a weekend English paper who was very closely in association with the LTD at that time, he confirmed what I was imagining, what I was appreciating. He himself said it was about 35,000 or close to that. I knew that the war will come back at some time again. Although some people had a lot of hopes on ceasefire, I knew the war will come back again. Because of that, from the day one after I took over the army, I commenced restructuring the army. I wanted to restructure the army because I took over an army which was running backwards in the battlefield. I knew that I had to rejuvenate them. During that process, I appointed field commanders on merit as against the seniority. I considered their commitment, their capacity, their experience, and then I nominated them based on the merit as against the seniority, the traditional system we had in the army earlier. I prepared a selected list in the army. Normally in the professional armies, there is a thing called selected list for the officers. Majors and above are identified with their performance, with their background, with the ability, commitment, all that, and they are put into one list which is called selected list. Normally for the command appointments, people are selected from that list. Of course, after I left the army, after I finished the war and left the army, then Defense Secretary, he cancelled that list because he thought it was my private list or something like that. So it was not there in the army anymore. Then I managed to put a full stop to the corruption in the army. I started doing that from the top. There are a couple of senior officers, I still can remember a case where a lieutenant colonel had robbed 400,000 from a regimental fund. But the commander, who was about 4 years before me, he only summoned the lieutenant colonel to his office, said please hand over the money, and he allowed him to go back. He got the promotion to the next rank, colonel rank, after about 4 months. When I became the commander, I took the file back and sacked that army officer overnight. So like that, I was giving the message down, starting from the top, giving it downwards, and the people received the message in a very unpleasant way, but it did a lot of good for the army. And I maintained very high standards of discipline. When I was the commander, the senior most military police officer, he was caught for transporting illicit cattle in an army truck. So I got hold of him. Then I removed him from the appointment. I put into his personal file and said, no more promotions. You will complete to a maximum period in the rank and go home. But he was the officer who came to arrest me after the presidential election. Then my ethos did not accommodate failures. There was an officer who was commanding the 5-7 division, which was commanded later on by General Sarath. That officer, after one counterattack by terrorists, he refused to command the division anymore. He started crying, he started complaining to his regimental commanders and even to my secretary, military secretary. Then I removed him overnight and replaced him with General Sarath, and that was the other officer who came to arrest me. So that is how the people united to come and arrest me and drag me out of my office. Then I had no favorites in the army. During my career in the army, I had never even had a cup of tea from a junior officer. I had never had a drink from a junior officer. If I had a drink from anybody in the army, I would have always ensured that I returned the drink at some stage. So likewise, because of that, I had no favorites in the army. My relationship was only official with everybody in the army. Then I wanted to put the army right, but I started putting the army right, starting from the top. First I started grinding the generals, then the brigadiers, then all the others fell in line. It was very easy. Even this country, if you want to put the country right one day, you have to start correcting it from the top and sitting on the top, then after that everything will fall in line. From here onwards, we will talk about how the victory was made realistic. A lot of things I had to do against the conventional standard methods, against the tradition, to make the war, winning the war, to make it realistic. I wanted to deviate from traditional and conventional fighting techniques and tactics. So I started doing that because the LTT was very familiar with traditional, conventional tactics and fighting techniques. I wanted to deviate from that. I evolved new strategies, new tactics, and new training methods. During the process, operations were planned to kill the terrorists, not to capture land. Before I took over the army, there were a whole lot of operations going on for 30 years. Every operation was planned to capture the land, but I planned all the operations to kill the terrorists, not to capture the land. Then I left the roads for the terrorists to use. I pushed the army into the jungles. I took the battle into the jungles. Before that, army had to always keep a main road as the access. Then army used to move astride main roads because they wanted to maintain logistic tail. They wanted to maintain the admin tail. But I had no admin tail. I pushed the army into jungles. And admin and logistics was a nightmare. Sometimes they had to carry casualties about 5 kilometers on shoulder. It was difficult. Going was difficult. But we achieved the results desired. I trained all the infantrymen on a special training course called Special Infantry Operations. Special syllabus was arranged for 3 months training for every infantry soldier to make him a special fighting machine. After following that course, the infantry soldiers, they were very good, effective, die-hard fighting machines in the field. Their training included about 1 month almost commando endurance training, then about 1 month specialized in field engineering, specialized in calling for artillery fire, air force fire, specialized in first aids. After that, they were again sent for 1 month to Commando Training Center and a Special Forces Training Center to give them a tough training and concentrate on a lot of firing. The soldiers managed to change the pattern of the war. After training them in SIO training, I call it SIO training, Special Infantry Operation, I managed to, by using them, change the overall strategies of the army. Before that, the army used to move. Say if there are 3 divisions, there will be 1 division moving astride the road. We moved like that from Vavaniya to Mankulam at one stage. Other 2 divisions will be on the flank, looking after the flank and giving admin tail. So 1 division is moving in front. Normally they will have about 400 soldiers in front on one side, 400 soldiers in front on the left. 1 division has 7,500 soldiers. 3 divisions 22,000. But out of them only 800 will be fighting. That was the technique the army was using, the conventional technique forever. I changed this, I put the SIO teams, 4-man teams, I trained them and put them into 4-man teams. I used to put about 200 4-man teams into jungle. Then they cover 75 meters apart, about 15 kilometer frontage. In a division there are about 1,250 4-man teams. Out of them, 200 teams are put to cover 550 kilometer frontage. The balance 4-man teams are giving them the backing. So likewise, when we change the strategies, formations, the terrorists fighting totally went out of the battle. They didn't know how to face the military because they had never seen military operating in that fashion. Then I kept the divisions in multiple fronts. Unlike those days, when there are 3 divisions, they put all 3 divisions to go together. I put them in different fronts, one in Vavuniya, one in Valua, one in Mena, and they were fighting in wide fronts. And we were engaging almost all the terrorists at the same time. We ensured that 35,000 terrorist cadre was kept committed in the battle in front of us. Then I kept the division directly under me. Normally when the operations start in the army, all the time, they appointed the senior general, normally the number 2 in the army, to be in charge of the operations. Then he command the operation, the divisions are under him, but I kept all the divisions directly under me. There were 5 offensive divisions, 2 in Jaffna, 3 going from south to north. I kept all 5 directly under my direct command. When I had to give instructions, normally in the offensive operations, the commander will give directions, orders 1 level down. I gave orders and directions 3 levels down, and I supervised and monitored 4 levels down. It took a lot of trouble, lot of time, lot of things to be remembered, but I managed to do that. And I had no written orders during the 2-year, 9 months war. I gave all the instructions verbally, nothing on writing, no records, but I managed to remember everything and monitor, supervise all what was going on. Out of the box actions were the order of the day. There was a situation when we were proceeding after capturing Kilnochi, we had turned towards Mullatiu to east, then the army was moving ahead, forward. Then there were a lot of jungle areas behind, between Kilnochi and Vaunia, the jungle areas, we call it belly, where the areas were falling unoccupied. Then I wanted about 10,000 troops to occupy these areas. But the recruiting was done about 4,000 a month, and they were going into offensive operation. So because I had to find some solution, I decided to go out of the box, decided to put battle casualties into the field. Out of about altogether 27,000 injured soldiers, I got the walking wounded, who could hold a rifle, who could see and hear, and put them into a jungle, 10,000 of them, to fill the belly. I put them together with the doctors and the nurses and the medical staff. They were happily doing their job. They were with commitment, they were doing their job. Then strict, firm, ruthless, robust commands were the key to have control over an army in battle. I couldn't give always nice, sweet orders for soldiers to hear. I had to be very strict at times, ruthless, robust, but there was no other way out. So I continued with that, and I had strict control over the army. Sometimes I had to take very harsh decisions. There was a situation when we were fighting at Kilnochi, about 4 months, in all weather, 365 days of the year. Day and night, we were fighting, a lot of casualties are coming, because there was a huge obstacle in front of us, 10 feet wide, 8 feet high bund, then in front of us, 8 feet deep, 10 feet wide ditch. We were fighting there for a long time. There were a lot of casualties coming. So when the soldiers were going home, their parents, their wives, they were not allowing them to come back. A lot of deserters also. We had to face a lot of desertions at that time. So I had no way of stopping this. I wrote to them, I spoke to them, I wrote to their families. Still the desertions continued. Then I started arresting them, court-martialed them, put them in the jail. Together with the civil police, I was going, sending the people to arrest them at home, bring them and court-martial, put them in the jail. There were 2,000 soldiers in the Valikada jail at one time. In fact, their mothers and their wives, they formed a union against me. They were going on protest, and not like today, they were protesting against me for arresting the soldiers and putting them in the jail. But after I did that, the desertion stopped. Otherwise, we wouldn't have ever gone through that war if that desertion continued in the same manner. I gave clear and very clear orders, weekly basis, on need-to-know basis. Unlike today, I find the politicians having conferences from morning till night every day, but no results. I had only one conference a week. Every Saturday I used to go to Vaunia and have a conference and come home for late lunch. And then orders are given very clearly, need-to-know basis. Out that when I come, of course I was talking to generals twice daily and monitoring and supervising the progress. Visit to operational areas every Saturday for 2 years and 9 months. There were information to say that they were waiting to attack my helicopter, but I had no choice. I had to take the risk and keep going until I saw an end to the war. I had to ensure that I maintained initiative without giving a respite to the enemy. I didn't want to allow a single second, a break for the terrorists to regroup and take a respite. So initiative I retained throughout the whole period of the operations. Fought without a respite, without giving any break in the fighting, because I was worried if I give a break, whether the government will take the advantage and try to go against the offensive. Therefore, I didn't give a break for the government to take any step against the offensive. Still, 2009, January 31st and February 1st, Against my advice, that time Commander-in-Chief gave a ceasefire for 2 days. I don't know why he gave a ceasefire. We were only 10 kilometers away from the last line. Then during that period, terrorists attacked us. The army fell back. We fell back 5 kilometers. Had we gone another 3 kilometers, we would have lost the war. And I lost about 500 soldiers because that stupid decision taken by the politician at that time going against our advice. There were problems like that. Then I maintained higher standards in the welfare, higher standards in the administration, higher standards in the logistics, and ensured that no lapses. I was personally supervising them. Then welfare of the families of the soldiers and officers who were in battle was taken care by the Seva unit. It was headed by this lady who is seated here. Seva unit handled the welfare of all the families. I promoted 2,000 soldiers within a period of 2 years to the rank of second lieutenant. There was a dearth of young officers in the army, so you get a lot of casualties. So I promoted corporals and sergeants to the rank of second lieutenant during a period, 2,000 of them during a period of 2 years. They were fighting the battle right in front with a lot of vigor and commitment and a lot of courage. I think they made the big, huge turning point in the battle. Their motivation was very high. Then I enlisted. Normally the officers are taken to army with the advanced levels. During my period I started, we were taking 2 batches for a year, 150 at a time, so 300 officers are joining the army per year. I took 1 batch out of the 2 batches with all-level qualification. I was wondering and I could command the army. I was thinking why a young officer who can come with all-levels and command a platoon of 25 men. And when we were taking people with all-levels, we had the option of taking a lot of youth, sportsmen, and more dynamic people rather than the people who had long aspirations to go to university and various things. The youths who are coming, normally in a school, the sportsmen, most of them, they failed advanced level. So I was eyeing them. I was taking them into army. They did a superb job. Then final outcome of the war, 23,000 killed. There is 23,000 killed and 12,000 arrested. From the army I commanded, 2 years, 9 months, 5,200 paid supreme sacrifice, 3,000 permanent disabled, and about another 19,000 injured in the war. So compared with the other services, not that I am going to let them down. My army, I lost 5,200 men, when Navy lost 150 men, Air Force 8, 2 officers and 6 airmen. So you could see the brunt of the war had to be carried by the army because the land battle was the most demanding battle. So that is as far as the war is concerned. I am running very fast. If I am missing anything, not elaborating enough, please ask me any questions you want to clarify afterwards. Now I am coming to the main issue. Main issue faced by all of you. Situation in the country. The situation in the country, the country is in the predicament. Country is indebted, unable to pay the loans. Then country declared bankrupt. Then people, their life has become very volatile. We don't see light at the end of the tunnel. We are groping in the dark at the moment. Then we are living in an underdeveloped country, which was gradually wearing off for the last 75 years. Quality of life has been degrading, but regularly during the last 75 years. Country was not destroyed by the economists, the country was destroyed by the politicians. I don't blame the economists for economically destroying the country. Let's see the root causes for above fail. To start with, I think the number one out of the root causes is corruption by the politicians, which has engulfed the country. Corruption by the politicians. Then inefficiency, lethargy of the politicians who had no vision to develop the country. And similar attitude of the government servants, which are closely followed by corrupt dealers in this country. These are the main reasons for the country to end up in this situation by this time. Then next come to the corrupt political culture. We are sticking on to corrupt political culture based on the relief assistance given to 7% of the population of this country who are called poor population. Although the various information given by the experts say poverty line is this, that and all that, I believe about 30% of our people are poor. I am referring to the people who are on the motorcycles, who are in three-wheelers. They are basically having a lot of hardships. So, the corrupt political culture has ruined their life. Then people still want to rely on the politician. They want to go and request the politician to get a job for their child, to get a school for the child. People have a habit of still going behind politicians. People don't bother to find out the background and the real character of the politician when it comes to voting. So this is the final outcome of the corrupt political culture in this country. Then failure as a nation to save democracy, constitution, parliament, people's representative from the corrupt politicians, corrupt government servants and corrupt dealers. We have failed as a nation and therefore we are facing this music today. Then coming on to economy, I am no economist. As much as you all are, I think only about 99% here are no military people, but you all understood what I was talking. Therefore, although I am no economist, I understand little bit what the economists are talking. And I am no economist, but I have a general idea about the economics and the economist and what the government has to do in a situation like this. I have a general idea. Economy and economists are mostly about from what we hear, what we see. I have not learned from a book, be what I heard and what I see in this time throughout this period. They talk about per capita income, they talk about GDP, they talk about borrowings, they talk about borrowing limits, then they talk about interest rates, they talk about sovereign bonds, treasury bills, then they talk about remittances, they talk about tourism and foreign exchange, then they talk about foreign exchange and foreign exchange reserves and gold reserves, money printing, taxes and tax concessions, production, investment and also privatization. These are things what we hear. I think this is all about what the economy is evolved and economy is focusing about. And in addition to above, our economists are also familiar with facts and figures. They are familiar with rules and regulations, and they are also they know from where to borrow the money. There is a difference between a normal citizen and economist, I think. You all don't know anything to do with those things, those aspects. Nowadays, they also talk about IMF, then they talk about debt restructuring, then they also talk about optimization of internal debt. So these are the things what we hear from morning till evening these days. Of course, what the economists do, basically what they do is gambling or meddling with the available assets and available money in the country. That is what they do. They are very good in that. They will recommend various ways of shifting from here, shifting from there. The same thing what you do at home when it comes to economical issues at home. When you are trying to budget to your home budget, these are the same things what you do. But bolstering the country's economy and developing the country and finding the foreign exchange and developing the infrastructure, all that falls into the hands of the politicians. And that is where they have failed all the way along. last 20 years or so. In that aspect, our politicians have failed. So from my perspective, these are how a future government must work towards boosting the economy of this country. You have to boost the economy in this country. From my perspective, it does not mean that I am going to contest for anything and I am going to be the head of the state or something. Don't take me amiss. This is my perspective. This is the way I think the country has to go forward. We will have to work based on the priorities. There are a lot of lapses and shortcomings. Everything is in a mess in this country. So we won't be able to try and put everything in line in one go. So we'll have to think on the priorities and start working on the priority. I think we have foreign exchange crisis. Foreign exchange is the biggest crisis. So therefore, government must come forward to sponsor the production and exports in this country. Government must do this. They must sponsor it. They might, even if they have to pocket out some money from the government coffers, they must consider it not as a loan, but consider it as an investment for the future development of the economy of this country. Then also government must sponsor to develop the infrastructure, to develop the tourism in this country. Our infrastructure for tourism is, I think, compared with very small countries. Even in a country like Maldives, we have not done much to improve the infrastructure here. We are only taking tourists around to show the ruins. Otherwise, we will show them the beaches and ask them to have sea baths. Otherwise, we will take them to Yala and Wilpa to show them the wildlife. That is all we have been doing. We have not taken any trouble to develop the infrastructure of the tourists. And in addition to that, to improve the foreign exchange, government must take some interest ensuring the security and also ensuring the dignity, giving them recognition for workers, people who are working abroad. Our diaspora abroad, they definitely need more recognition because they are sending us a lot of money, remittances are coming. So improving on these three aspects, I think we will, if we do it, handle it properly, our foreign exchange issues will be taken care of to a certain extent. Then, on the other side, government must give priority again for agriculture because we have a huge food issue here. Our people are starving. There is malnutrition in the country. So government must give a helping hand, try to sponsor the agriculture. Even they will have to think of developing and improving our irrigation system, then fisheries, then livestock farming. By improving these things, government must aim at giving people 3 meals for all the people in this country. 3 meals at an affordable cost, at a cheaper cost. That should be given, considered as priority. Then government must do everything possible to improve the health in this country, health services, then improve the feed the standards, international standards in the health sector and education sector. That should be priority. I think even Richard, half his speech, he was concentrating on the education of the future generation. Then I have realized we are spending too much money on fuel in this country. Even during the crisis period, we could see the queues all over because we have got used to the habit of running our private transport, spending a lot of money government-wise and also private-wise. We are spending and wasting a lot of money on transport. We must do everything possible to develop the private transport, public transport. It must be developed to a stage where if there's an event like this, most of you would have used the public transport and come here in a developed country. But today I know about at least 100 vehicles would have moved to this place. So therefore improving public transport will only save your budget at home and it will also do a lot of saving for the country's coffers. So improving public transport should be given priority. Then government must look for investors to develop the infrastructure for rich tourists to come here. There are rich tourists in the world. The tourists who come to our country are basically the poor tourists. Even going to Pasar, they are all backpackers. They don't waste a lot of money when they come here. Travel by bus, walk miles and miles, and everything free, eat a one or two, and manage look around the country and go back. I have heard that the Chinese, especially the Chinese tourists, 80% of the Chinese tourists who are rich, they go to Maldives. Only about 12% come here. Those who come here are the people who are looking for the cats and the frogs and the snakes and various people. But the rich tourists who go to Maldives, they take a lot of money and go. So you can imagine what is wrong with us. What has Maldives got? What have we got? So definitely we have to think on this line, develop the infrastructure to attract the rich tourists. So that means we have to, I am not going to try and go beyond the limits, talk about prostitutes or ganja or various things. But definitely to attract rich tourists, because when they come here they will have some fun. So casinos, nightclubs, those things will have to come by way of investors. And also I think when a tourist comes here, we must have a nice attractive package for him. Not only go to see the ruins and go to the beach, or go to Singiri and go and stay in a hotel, then go to Yala. To take them around in a nicely organized package, we have to develop things like cable cars, even maybe a Disney World. There are investors who can come and pick up those things. If you have cable car system coming from up country going towards Mayangan or something to Batiklo, then we have a beautiful package what a tourist can cover within a period of about 2 weeks. Then there will be a lot of attraction here. So we have to think on these lines. But today we see the people in the tourist ministry, they go and hold banners in cricket matches and all that. They will see the banners and come here and waste their time. So these areas we have to think about, and these are important areas. Then I am coming on to few other aspects. Privatization. We can talk about privatization, entrepreneurs. Then develop industries, definitely. We have to find investors to develop industries in order to cut down on the imports. We have to develop industries locally with the local investors, foreign investors, in order to cut down on the imports to the country. Then I will come out with a few other points. I think I went very fast. I hope I have been able to make things clear to you. Few other very important points, not talking only about economy. You all know that this country is a beautiful country. You can look around and compare this country with other countries. You take Bangladesh, 2/3 of the Bangladesh is inundated throughout the year. You take Maldives, there are only a couple of islands. They don't have anything in those islands. Then you take Pakistan, I think most of the country is desert most probably. Then India still, although they have become about the 4th powerful country in the world, majority are still very poor people. The poverty line, there are maybe about 70-80% people are still very poor. But we have a beautiful country. In this country, I have seen the beauty of this country during the wartime. Because I used to go in the helicopter once a week. I start from Yala, go to East, then come to Vaunia, then go to Jaffna, come back. About 6 hours I am roaming around the country in helicopter every Saturday. When you come in, go in the helicopters fly at 5,000 feet. Then you see the beauty of this country. If you take a flight, you are flying at 30,000, you only see this country as a one green carpet to hump. When you fly at that height, you see the blue sea, ocean around the country, the beautiful beaches, the waves, then rivers, the waterfalls, then you see the jungles, then wildlife, then you see the paddy fields, you see the hills, mountains, you will see Pinutalaga, Singiri, all that, then you see Beragala, then this country is a beautiful country. But you go to the neighboring country, Maldives, what do you see? You will not see even a coconut tree. You will not see a single, not a river, not even a stream. You will not see any jungle life, not even maybe a cat. I don't know whether even a cat or dog is there because the country is too small for them to survive. So, but those countries have become very popular for the tourists. Because this country, we have not taken trouble to beautify this country. We have a place called Yala. It has 7 blocks, but we have been showing to the tourists for the last 35 years, only 3 blocks. We have not been able to make Yala a tourist attraction so far. So likewise, the beautiful country, we have been just living on that without doing anything to protect this country and develop the country. Then remember, you are in an underdeveloped country. Even if you are rich in this country, even if you are super rich, there may be few gentlemen here super rich, some are rich, Colombo society mostly. Even if you are rich in this country, what do you have? Because this country is underdeveloped. You might have a good house with a parapet wall, big house in Colombo, air conditioned. Then you will have a couple of vehicles, a BMW, a Mercedes, V8, all that. Then you will have a big bank account. But with all that, when you get out of your gate, you are stepping into a very underdeveloped poor country. When you are on the road, if you go to a park, there is no proper park for you to go and relax. If you want to go to a cinema, there is no proper cinema for you to go. If you go to a school, the royalists and Thomians, they think the best schools in the world are here in this country. Anandians also think like that. But if you see the schools in those developed countries, you go to a school, it is as good as going into a new city. All the facilities are there, children are comfortable, they are relaxed. But we don't have those things in this country. So people must know, even if you are rich in this country, you are living like a middle class person in a developed country. That is the difference. You are like a frog in the well. So ensure that you do something, you make some sacrifices, even a little bit, to ensure not only you become a rich man, also to ensure that this country becomes a developed country. You have to make that sacrifice. Otherwise this country, you will be here with a lot of money in the bank account, but your children will go abroad, they will never come back. That is the reality. Start a life with certain level of high quality. Every parent thinks that their children have to live better than the way the parents are living. Your aspiration, your struggle is to bring a very good future for the children, to ensure that they live with a better quality, better life. But if that is aspiration, if this country is taken over by leaders who lack quality, who have not seen that higher standard of the higher quality of life, then they will never be able to give your children a good life. They will never be able to make your children live a quality life. So ensure that in future when you select the leaders, definitely look into the qualities of those people. Even if you become the number 1 in the country, number 2 or cabinet ministers, everybody, there must be the people who are quality people. Quality does not mean that only money in the account or having a rich life and having a powerful company or private business. Personal quality is judged in various ways, you understand that. Then, engulfed by a corrupt mafia. This country is devoured by a corrupt mafia network. In this country, every place where there is big money circulation is engulfed by this mafia. The mafia is internationalized. There are agents in this country. So people who aspire to become royal families and all that in the past, they are the agents of this mafia. And even in this country, if the per capita income goes up, or maybe the GDP goes up, still that will not seep down to you and the normal public in this country. All that will be looted out by that mafia. That money, that wealth will never come to this country. It might go to bank accounts, overseas property and various things. But people will not enjoy that, the wealth, even if the country develops to a certain extent one day, unless we do away with this mafia. So this mafia business is very dangerous, definitely. People must be determined to save this country from this corrupt mafia. Then finally I have come into talk about where we must go from here. There are various political events which will take place in the near future. So people in this country, they must not get played out anymore. People in this country got played out. Even the youth even the floating waters, everybody thought we want a Hitler for the country, or some people thought that we have a J.S. Kumara in the country. They thought we have a Viruva in the country now. Finally, all of them were let down. Especially a message to the youth. Youth must know they need maturity. We also had our young days. At times you are very emotional, aggressive, and you think you know everything. But the maturity has to come. Through the maturity you identify a lot of things and you select the correct path. So people in this country, this is my last advice for people in this country. They must think carefully. They must take future decisions very carefully and make sacrifices at the lower level. If you see something wrong, when you know the politicians are messing up, don't stay at home thinking that others will do the needful. I can't go and waste my time and spend all that for unnecessary politics and anything. At least you must have the courage to take a boat and go and stand on the road if the country is going in the wrong direction. So that is what you are supposed to do. If we go through on this line, I am sure, identify the correct priorities. In a 2 or 3 years' time, you will start feeling the difference in this country. Everything will not fall in line, but definitely in 2 or 3 years' time, you start feeling the difference. And in about 5 to 7 years' time, I am sure we can complete all the required areas, cover required areas, put a solid foundation for the country. After that, we can start relaxing and concentrating on other areas. Up to that time, for first few years, other areas will have to be kept on the recurrent, not on the capital expenditure. Thank you very much.